This show is not for kids. Just because we have anxiety doesn't mean we have degrees in psychology or counseling. Everything you hear is purely opinion based. If you are suffering from any chronic mental illnesses, we strongly urge you to seek professional help. And hey, thanks for listening. Have you ever done something strange in public just because you don't want to be around anyone? Possibly isolating yourself to avoid seeing others? Hello, and welcome to Anxious Humor. Hello, and today we'll be talking with our good friend Avi, who can definitely do a better job at introducing himself than I can.
My name is Aviel, but you can call me Azul. I understand that my name is pretty difficult to say, so Azul is perfectly fine for me. I'm 23 years old. I live in the wonderful state of Illinois, and the weather's really crappy, and I'm ready for autumn.
Okay.
Hello.
um, welcome, Avi. So we're basically just going to be talking about the big sad or depression, mainly. So, have you ever dipped your balls in Thousand Island dressing?
Jumping right into it, okay. Um, so real quick, backstory. My birthday is in December, December 28th, actually. So a couple days after Christmas, a couple days before New Year's. And here in Illinois, it typically snows, around December. And what's cool is it is in December, it snows, but it doesn't get super cold until January. So, it's right around that time where the snow is kind of bleh. Anyways, I had a birthday party when I was 13, and I had a bunch of friends over. We were all hanging out, having some tacos, chilling. And it was late at night. It was like 9 o'clock at night, 9:30, 10 o'clock. And one of my friends suggested I go play out in the snow in my boxers. And my dumbass 13-year-old self was like, yeah, that's a totally awesome idea. Might as well. So I stripped in my living room, and I decided to run outside and play around in the snow. But what I didn't know was that it had recently snowed a couple days before then, and it was fluffy snow. Um, but what I didn't know is that it also kind of rained, sleeted a little bit. So when I ran in the snow, I assumed it was just pure fluff. The section that I ran in was actually pure ice, and I did a cannonball in, and I cut my junk on ice. Literally on the inner thigh, right next to the external genitalia area, and I cut my junk, and it was not a pleasant time. Let's just say that. Not
Big
in the
oof.
slightest. Really funny situation though. Completely forgot about that story until then.
I'd say that's pretty close to dipping your balls in Thousand Island
It's
dressing.
the closest thing I've done, honestly. It was not as fun, I would say. I'd say dipping my junk in Thousand Island dressing would be way much more fun.
Rihanna, you want to go ahead with the other question?
The next like the
Yes.
first real question.
Yes, the first real question.
Okay. Um so you did streaming for a little while on Twitch. Did streaming help your depression, or did it antagonize it in any way? How did that affect your mental health?
Yeah, so streaming actually really did help me. Just to further clarify, I've been streaming since like 2016, but it was very on and off in 2016, a little bit hardcore in 2017. But last year, I took it really hardcore in 2018, March of 2018. It was a lot of fun. It genuinely did help me in my life. Um, it was really cool. I was able to get to the affiliate status, so I was able to make some revenue from it. I was thankful enough to have people, be charitable and tip and sub and donate money. Like I was able to pay my rent from it for a couple of months, which was freaking crazy in itself. Let me say that. Um, yeah, like that was something I never expected. Um, and it really did help me because last year in January, I worked at a Sam's Club. I worked at a Sam's Club from like 2015 all the way to 2018. But unfortunately, excuse me, but unfortunately, the branch decided to close down the Sam's Club that I worked at. Um, I live I live in an area in Illinois along the Mississippi River. So I live right along the border of Iowa and Illinois. It's like a 15-minute car drive from my apartment across the bridge to Iowa. We live in an area where we are considered, a localization area. It's called the Quad Cities. It involves 2 cities from Illinois, 2 cities from Iowa. Um, so it's a very localized group. And there were actually 2 Sam's Clubs in the area. One of them was in Iowa, and then the one I worked at was in Illinois. So they unfortunately decided to close down the Illinois branch, and I was kind of stuck out of a job. And trying to scramble, I was able to thankfully transfer to the Davenport Club, but it was across the bridge, and unfortunately, I didn't have my own car. I shared one with my dad. So unfortunately, it was very tough, trying to, in the span of a week, early January, I lost my job. I got laid off. Trying to figure out what other job to find, trying to figure out if I could transfer to Davenport, so on and so forth. And that was one of the most stressful periods of my life, and streaming really did help alleviate the pressures from that. It was so much fun, even though I was exhausted 24/7. It was really fun to stream and to have an audience and just to play games together. Um, but it did also antagonize it in a certain way. Probably around like July, almost a year ago, honestly, a year ago to July, I started to get too focused on numbers, and it really took its toll. I averaged around like 7 to 10 plus people per stream, which was really cool. But when I started to get less than those numbers, I really let that aspect get to my head, and it really discouraged me, as well as IRL things. Just it was a really, really crappy time during that point. I got so anxious to show my face because I used to use a webcam. I got really anxious and would turn off my webcam whenever I would stream. And sometimes I got really uncomfortable when people asked if I could use webcam. It was a big mess, unfortunately. And it sucks that it came to that because I really did love streaming and I miss streaming tons. It was really one of the most fun times of my life, and it was a highlight. Genuinely love it.
Well, that's pretty neat. Yeah, I've dabbled in streaming as well, but I'm just not one of those people that can sit down and talk for hours about the video game that I'm playing. It's kind of hard because you run out of things to say, and then you're just sitting there, and that's my issue with it. So I know that I'm not very good at it.
I mean, it also doesn't help with the game that you play, also, because like I played a lot of Fortnite back then, and Fortnite blew up last year around March, February, March, and April with the whole Ninja and Drake thing, which was crazy cool, by the way. But I'd never really played battle royales before, so I was getting into it, and I tried to play Fortnite, but battle royale games just aren't for me, man. They're just not. I love Fortnite. Like, it's really cool. Like, it's one of the coolest things out there. I love what it's done for gaming, the gaming community as a whole, the crazy cool things that it does. We just had the World Cup literally, 3 days ago, and a 16-year-old kid won $3 million from the tournament. Like, that's
I know.
so freaking cool. I love what Fortnite has done
Didn't
for the
like a
gaming
younger
community.
kid come in like sixth place or like
Yeah.
a lower place and still get $1 million?
I think it was a 13-year-old kid, and I think he got like 900K or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
That's-
fucking insane.
Well,
Yeah,
what I
it's
was reading was that like first place was 3 million and 10th place was 225,000.
I'm gonna
Exactly.
quit my job.
Let's all just quit and start playing Fortnite again. That was for the duos, wasn't it?
I don't know.
Or was
that
it the
off top of my head.
50v50?
I know I was reading the duos.
I don't know.
That was the price or the win gap on the duo matches, but I don't. It might have been the same for the rest of the game modes, but Um,
I know. All I know is that Booga, the kid who won $3 million, it was the solo tournament. So I know that he won that. I don't know about the others, unfortunately. But but exactly, like I love what Fortnite has done for the gaming community, and I appreciate Fortnite as a whole. It's just not a game that I'm into, unfortunately. Just not into BRs. So I play Destiny 2 all the time. Like D2 is what I play. It is the game that I play daily, and I wasn't as invested back then as I am now. So like, after Fortnite, I was like, well, what do I play now? There's really nothing else to play, because Call of Duty at the time, you know, it wasn't fun. And the only other game I love to play was Breath of the Wild, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I still play that game. Love it.
Rihanna's over there making goofy faces because she loves it too.
It's such a good game.
So does my mom.
Yeah, it is. It is a very
And that's
good
not
game.
a mom joke. She really does love it.
My mom.
Oh my god.
My mom loves it. Yeah, so that game, I love streaming that game, and I did stream it all the time. My typical schedule of streaming was I would stream Breath of the Wild first for like 2 or 3 hours, and then end the night off with Fortnite. But Breath of the Wild is a 2-year-old game, and it doesn't get a lot of viewership in the directory on Twitch. So whenever I'd play the game, not a lot of people would come, unfortunately. But I did have a lot of fun playing it, and it just, I don't know, just the unfortunates of old games, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing with Twitch. If you're gonna be a Twitch streamer, you gotta stay on top of like what's popular.
Yeah.
Of course.
If you want to be relevant.
Of course. Yeah,
That's
so
how money's made.
of course, you got to hop on the hype train, or you have to be an established person playing the game, like Overwatch. Like Overwatch, the reason the game is still relevant is because of known people. They play that game, consistently. Like my personal favorite is Kefri. Like I love Kefri, and he's great. And he streams Overwatch all the time, and But what's unfortunate, like, is when he plays Apex. Like I love watching him play. Like I love Apex as well too. Freaking awesome game, but it's a BR. Not so much for me, but I love it. I love watching it. And when Kefri plays Apex, his viewership drops like by like 300 people, and it's so unfortunate. But I guess that comes with the personality as well too. The people who stay like you because of your personality, and I like him because of his personality. So just the unfortunates of streaming.
So, do you know? Have you been like officially like diagnosed with depression or anything else like that?
Clinically, no, because I've never really gone. I haven't, unfortunately, gone to the doctors. But you know, I've had it for all my life. I finally accept. And the thing that sucks about it as well too is I didn't really believe it until last year when I was 22. That's when I finally accepted it. But looking back, I've been depressed as early as like 15, 14. It unfortunately runs in my family as well too. It runs on my mother's side of the family. So her entire side has it. My mother has it. My younger brother, grandmother, uncles on her side. Unfortunately, my little sisters might have it when they grow up, which is gonna suck. But you know, it was bound to happen. And the thing that sucks about it as well too is like, I grew up in a Mexican American household, and for those that don't know, mental health isn't really acknowledged in specific Mexican families, just because that's just the way of the culture, unfortunately. So growing up, a lot of my family and a lot of my friends as well too, just told me I was just, being quote unquote sad, and like that didn't really help at all because I'd be like 16, come home from school, be like, why am I sad? My dad would be like, you know what? There's no reason to be sad. You have a house. You have video games to play. You're cool. And I would think to myself, yeah, why am I being sad? I've got everything I need. Why am I sad? And I just didn't know that my brain is fucked up and wired different.
Yeah, I feel like that's a big thing, not just in the Mexican American community or some Mexican American families, because I know our first interview with Antonio, he was in the same kind of position that you were in, as far as like having a family that doesn't really look into it as much. and tries to, I guess, the divert the questions and the feelings away so that it's not as big of a deal.
Very true. Very true. It really is unfortunate as well because, like, growing up with it, y- it really sucks because, in high school, I didn't have necessarily a lot of close friends. I had a lot of acquaintances. I was the type of person that juggled, from group to group. I had friends in the jock club, I had friends in the preppy club, I had friends, who were nerds. But I stuck to myself. I was the kid who listened to music and played video games all the time. And, the close friends that I did have were just assholes. And I'm not friends with like 99% of all of them. Like, like one of the biggest catalysts towards my depression as well too was when I was 18. You know, um, I was seeing this girl. I was dating this girl since we were 17. And we were in high school. On and off throughout high school, it was a very poor relationship. She was not very open, not very into talking, communicating, and feelings and stuff like that. While I was on the opposite spectrum. I wanted to know everything. What's wrong? What can I do to help? So on and so forth. And she wasn't like that. And I tried to encourage her to be that way. And it was just very rocky on and off throughout the entire, year and a half we were together. But what really sucked and what, was kind of like one of the initial catalysts for my depression was in, the beginning of autumn 2014, like September, October, November 2014. Um, she wanted to take a break. She wanted to, take a break. Let's just, try and remain as friends. And I know what a break means. A break is 1,000% like, hey, I want to go fuck other people. And if that doesn't work, come back to you. Like, that is exactly what a break is. And I knew that. I was 18. I knew that. But I loved her. So I was like, you know what? Fine. Let's try and work on this. Let's try and figure this out. And for the next month and a half, it was just back and forth, hot and cold. She wanted to be with me. She didn't want to be with me. She wanted to be, so on and so forth. Like, she essentially just used me as a fuck buddy. She would come over in the mornings. Our local college was kind of like a ways away from her house. She lived in the outskirts of town. I lived in town. It was like a 5-minute drive from my house to the college. It was like a 25-minute drive for her. So she would go to class in the morning, come to my apartment, then go back to class, continue on, so on and so forth. And so she would essentially use me as like, hey, I don't want to waste gas. I'm going to chill at your place and then go to college. So it was like that for a couple of months. And the thing that sucks about it as well too is one of my best friends growing up. He and I were locker buddies for all 4 years of high school, freshman all the way to senior year. We had a bunch of classes together. He was one of my best friends in high school. Um, Unfortunately, it just ended up coming down to her essentially cheating on me and leaving me for him, and him not talking to me about it in the slightest. And in November of 2014, that's when I had known, like, you have that instinctual feeling. I'm fairly clairvoyant, so I can kind of tell people's intentions without people saying things. I kind of have that intuition, I suppose. So I assumed something was up, but I didn't want to accept it or believe it. And unfortunately, it turned out to be exactly what I thought was happening. Um, and so, my best friend and the person that I cared for the most at the time were hooking up behind my back. And then she left me to go date him. And I was left in the dark. And that was one of the biggest catalysts early on for why I was sad. And, you know, it's been years. I've accepted it. I've let it go and moved on. They're married now. They live together. They've been married for like a year and some change, something like that. So more power to them. I'm not mad. Like, I'm not mad anymore, nor hurt. But like, there's a lot of trauma that came from that. Like, a lot of trauma that came from that shit.
Oh, I totally understand that. I've been in the same boat for the most part. In a couple of my relationships before Rihanna. Um, so I totally get that was a traumatic experience that kind of like contributed to a lot of issues mentally. It does take a lot to get over toxic relationships, but that's definitely something for another episode.
Very true, yeah. But like it really sucks because like you know my from that my trust I've got very large trust issues. It's very hard for me to trust many people, and I can't confide in many people anymore. And like you guys, like I love you and I can trust you with my life and I love each and every one of you. But like you're the only close friends that I have, and you know you guys all live so far away from me and it's like so sad. And I just want to see you guys. But yeah, that was one of the early catalysts for my depression and stuff.
Okay. So big question. Does humor help you cope with your depression?
Yeah. I mean, of course. I mean, humor is wonderful and it helps, of course, with depression. But like not nearly as much as some people would assume. Like I'm not necessarily a really funny person, which is funny to say because my father and my brother, hilarious. So fucking funny. They can pop a joke out of nowhere. They have hilarious innuendos, pop it up just like at the snap of their fingers. And I'm not like that, and it hurts me to my core. So funny. It's so funny though.
Ouch.
Yeah, big ouch.
Like as weird as it is as weird as it is to say, it's gonna sound weird as well too. But like sad things make me feel better. It's very like counterintuitive, super mundane. Like there's that whole meme, oh, when you're sad, you listen to sad music. It makes you feel even sadder, But like for me, it's the opposite. Like I love listening to sad music and everyone talks about how gloomy and rainy days are super depressing and super sad and everyone hates them. But like
Me, an intellectual, they're actually great.
an intellectual, yes. Yeah, those are my favorite days. Rainy and gloomy days are my favorite. Like I love waking up and looking out the window and it's just gray and blue sky, barely any sun. It's either rainy or looks like I can't even talk. My God, looks like it's gonna rain. Like those are my favorite days. And I guess this whole dreary aspect, doom and gloom kind of outlook, it does make me feel better, which is weird. But like the reasoning it does is because it essentially makes me and reminds me that hey, I can still feel emotions. That's cool. I haven't gone completely numb with life.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Like sad music makes everyone cry and such, and like it makes me cry too, but it makes me like feel it's a good cry.
It's a good cry. Everybody needs a good cry every once in a while.
Because everyone wants to wallow in their own self-pity. Sometimes we just need some, self-pity.
Very true. It works. Like
I'm here for it.
Like it really does. Like music is a huge factor of what I am, and it was more so a larger factor growing up than it is now. And my music taste, for those that don't know, I listen to metalcore, as well as chill step. Huge switch in directory, but it's like metalcore, melodic dubstep, huge vice versa. But
I get that too because I listen to a lot of death metal and metalcore as well, but I also listen to classic jazz and
hell yeah,
like big band jazz.
Right? Okay.
So I'm here for like anything as
Right.
long as it's got a good tune and makes me feel good.
I feel like the more anxious you've gotten, you've stopped listening to death metal as much.
Yeah, no. Over the past like few years, I have kind of like toned down a lot of the
Everything.
yeah, a lot of like the fast paced like metal and stuff, just because like messes with my anxiety a little bit, makes me feel a type of way. But I still enjoy it, just not nearly as much as I do like 80s rock or or jazz.
Like that comes with age. Like I'm a firm believer as well too, for anyone who listens to metal or has grown up listening to metal, that like everyone's tastes change. Like I grew up and I listened to heavy metal. I listened to All That Remains. I listened to motherfucking, oh my god, Atreyu. I love Atreyu. Oh my god, I still love Atreyu to this day so much. But I listened to hardcore heavy metal, Killswitch Engage, Avenged Sevenfold, Atreyu. Of course,
shit.
Breaking Benjamin, all that good stuff.
Butt rock!
But rock.
All that good stuff, back in 2006 and 2007. And while I can still listen to them, it just doesn't do it as much for me anymore. It just doesn't give me that satisfaction like metalcore does. Like the Word Alive, Less the Fall, the Cola Morale. And recently there's a band that I love. They're called If I Were You. They released an album in December, and no exaggeration, I listened to the album every single day. Every single day. I listened to it this morning while I was taking a poop. It's such a wonderful album, and music has been so impactful for my life and for who I am.
Yeah, music is important for your daily bowel movements.
100%. Can't poop without it. Side note, what's kind of funny about that? When I was younger, growing up, this is super embarrassing to say, but I'm going to say it anyways. Growing up, for some reason, until I was like 16, I could not poop unless I took my shirt off.
Hey, I mean, gotta be comfortable.
I would have to take my shirt off, throw it on the bathroom floor in order for me to go to the bathroom.
I can't poop if I have shoes on.
Same. Okay, same on that one.
And I prefer pooping without my pants on, but whatever.
Oh, that's cool. That's natural. They're like 90% off anyways. Go the extra
right.
mile. Yeah, exactly.
It's because I don't like to be hot while I'm pooping because it makes me more anxious. Okay, so like pooping in general makes me anxious though.
Right.
But there's some like reason to that, because like when you're straining, you're like hitting the vagus nerve and blah blah blah. It can make your heart rate go fast. Anyway.
I mean, you're 100% right.
It's a workout to poop,
It's a workout, man.
And I have like this small I don't like to strain either, because if I strain, I feel like I'm gonna die. I'm gonna pop a blood. I'm gonna go the Elvis Presley way.
Anal Fisher.
Elvis Presley.
Kevin Smith. That just ties back in, as I was saying, music, listening to sad music. There was a band that I listened to more back then than I do now. They're called the Cola Morale. One of my favorite bands, and they are a band about mental illness and self-help and such like that. And I found them when I was 17, and they like when I say this, I don't mean it as an exaggeration. They quite literally saved my life. Most people don't know, and it's crazy to say as well too. But I did almost have a suicide attempt when I was 17. It was a rainy April night, the beginning of April. No, end of March, beginning of April, something like that. And I almost had a suicide attempt one night. And that band, I wasn't as into them. I've heard of them. I listened to a song a couple times, but it didn't really catch me. And that night, when I wanted to do it, that band just suddenly came on, and I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. And the one of their singles that they had, it's a song called "Strange Comfort." It's about dealing with suicide and stuff like that. It was crazy. Like of all songs in the universe to come on a random shuffle, it was that song. And that band literally saved my life from that point on. Like, I have a tattoo of their band on my leg right now. I'm looking at it. It's on my leg. Like sad music just makes me feel better, like 1,000%. And that just goes along with the question: does humor help with depression? Of course. Listening to comedies and stupid vines and TikToks are hilarious. I love those, but it doesn't come near close as what it's like to listening to sad music on a rainy day in the middle of April.
My go-to rainy day thing is watching The Goonies. That always cheers me up.
The Goonies, man, that sounds like so much fun. You have given me an idea, sir.
Yeah, try it out.
And now it's time for a short break.
So we're gonna go ahead and jump into our next segment, and it's a new segment called Anxiety Corner, where we talk about weird social anxiety things on the Ask Reddit community.
Oh God.
Isn't that this whole podcast? So, from Reddit user Actually Lava Girl. Talking to my boss after a long day of exams and assignments, I go to leave and she catches the door before I can leave to say goodbye. For some reason, my wired brain made me give her finger guns and say zoop as I walked away, and I thought about it the whole way home.
I think my go-to thing now is finger guns and zoop.
Yeah, but you do it ironically.
You think it's ironic?
Okay, but it was ironic at first, and now you've done it so much, it's become unironic.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Personality trait now. Wow. I mean, so I don't do something like that. Like, I don't really do finger guns that much. I'm kidding. I actually do finger guns all the fucking time. Just
Double finger guns at that.
I do snap finger guns. Like, I snap my 3 fingers and then like make the guns with the snaps. That's what I do. But in a situation like that, like if the boss comes up to me as I'm leaving the door, like my go-to awkward phrase is like, "Thanks, man. You too." Just walk away. Always.
No matter what they say, it's just
No
like, thanks, you
matter-
too.
No, that's seriously my quirk that I have. Anytime, because I used to work in Sam's Club and that's retail, and anytime a customer would say something to me, like, "Oh, thank you so much, have a good day." "Thanks, man, you too." Just start in the opposite direction. That's my go-to thing.
Yeah, or when people say like, "Oh, see you soon," and then you're like, "Yeah, you too."
Oh my god, I do that all the time.
When we respond, it just comes out as our pre-recorded message.
Predictive text.
Yeah, predictive text, basically.
That's awesome.
So this next one's kind of long, but I think it's
Sure.
totally worth it. So this one comes from Reddit user of the name Trialobite, or Trilobite, probably.
No, I think it's trial obite. I think it's like a wordplay.
Maybe.
Whatever.
I'm bad at wordplay, so it doesn't make a difference to me. The other day at my small office, I went into the bathroom to fix my shirt, which I had worn inside out. When I went to the stall bathroom, it was empty. As I flipped my shirt around, someone walked into the stall next to me. I also used some toilet paper to wipe my nose because I've got a slight cold, and dropping the paper into the bowl. This triggered the auto flush sensor and it flushed. My predicament began when I realized I also had to pee, but since I already used TP and flushed my twisted mind, decided this would seem really weird to the person next door. Why would someone use the bathroom, flush, then stand up and pee again? Said no one ever. They might recognize my shoes and know who I was. So instead, I hatched a clever deception. I left the stall and washed my hands to seem normal, despite that I hadn't even used the bathroom. After drying, I walked loudly to the exit and opened the door into the hall. Then I said, "Oh, excuse me," like I accidentally bumped into someone else coming in, and walked right back in. I made sure to change the sound of my footsteps walking more quietly so the stall man would think that I was a different person and not some freak playing bathroom charades. Then I went to the urinal and peed and washed my hands again, using the farthest sink that I could so that he wouldn't spot my shoes. So I also have...
Damn.
I also have a bathroom anxiety like that, like public bathroom anxiety.
I've done that exact same thing before. Like, not with the shirt thing, but I worked at a Sam's Club, and like one of the bathrooms had like an automatic flush thing, and I went in there one day because I think I had to like fix something with like my vest or something like that, and I was like, "Oh, I have to pee, so I might as well just go into the stall." And I was fixing my vest, and then it like flushed. The person next to me, and like I was like, "I don't want them to think I have to pee twice. This is weird." So I just left, walked out, got a drink of water at the water fountain, and came back in, and like changed my footsteps, sounds, tried to sound different. Oh my god, so relatable. Oh my god, so funny. I was cracking up.
I don't really have that much social anxiety, so I've never really done anything like that.
Oh.
Sorry. You were looking at me like I should have some sort of response or relatable moment, and I was like, well, I don't. I can poop in public, so.
Can you, though? Can you really?
Yes.
Oh.
Consider me envious.
The only reason I prefer to poop at home is because we have a bidet.
Yeah.
Hey. Oh, my social anxiety is terrible, man. So bad. God. Like, ugh. It's so bad. Like, working at Sam's Club, man, and social anxiety, terrible combination, let me tell you. Because, like, stocking grapes, I used to work in produce. Stocking grapes, I would think, oh my god, that woman who's 2 aisles over, walking around the corner into the next aisle, is going to notice that maybe I'm stocking grapes differently. And she's going to, like, tell my boss, and my boss is going to yell at me for not stocking grapes correctly. Like, that's the shit that I had to go through. It's so annoying.
No, I get that completely.
Michael wouldn't let me leave him alone in Walmart today.
I don't blame you on that.
His social link, I mean, it's not awful, but
It's pretty bad. I don't like going places by myself for the most part. If I have to, it's fine, and I feel accomplished when I do things on my own. But it helps to have a second party.
Right. I freak the fuck out when people knock on my door, my apartment.
Oh, me too.
Like
so does
that.
my dog.
Like, so much anxiety just drives through my brain when or phone calls if numbers I don't know. Like, if it's someone who I don't know and it's a random phone call, I will not answer it ever. I probably won't ever check the voicemail.
I never answer my phone. I just wait for people to stop calling, and then I respond to them with a text. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not busy, but I just don't want to talk on the phone.
I just don't like talking on the phone. Like, personally, I just don't like talking. I would rather text.
Yeah, I feel like that comes from our generation, kind of like
100%.
being the generation that started with regular like landline phones, and we kind of progressively moved towards smartphones and like texting. So we were in that like gap generation that has like everything.
Yeah. It's also uncomfortable. Like if you're on long phone calls and you have the phone to your ear for like a half hour, like the phone gets hot, and when you're done, your phone glass is like sweaty. Like, that's uncomfortable, man. Like,
Yeah,
gross.
speakerphone for the win.
And that's fun. See, I hate speakerphone. It's a loss for me. I hate talking on the phone, and I hate talking on speakerphone. And I hate when people talk on speakerphone. Like, bitch, this is a private conversation. Talk to me. I don't want people knowing my business.
I think that'll be it for today anyway. Thanks for chatting with us, Avi. We really appreciate it. Would you like to say anything as like encouragement to people with similar issues?
Just take it one day at a time, man. It's tough. Like, it really is tough. And like I really do envy people who don't have to deal with this every day, or deal with it to a lesser degree. I really envy those people. But as with the band I listen to, the Color Morale, the tattoo that I have on my body is their third album name, and it's called No Hope. KNOW. No Hope. And that's like, those two words alone just single-handedly saved my life, and they continue to save my life every single day. That's why I have those two words tattooed on my body. No hope.
That's some good advice from you and them, I suppose.
There's a reason I love them. I love each and every one of you. I believe in you. You can get through this day. You can get through this week. You can go to your stupid, shitty job. You can go to your fucking stupid, loser-ass school. But when you're done, you can come home, change into comfy pants, and sleep. I believe in you, and I love you.
Accurate.
That's it for me. Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun.
No, thank you, Avi. Hey, if you listen to this show, go check out our iTunes and give us a good review. It would mean the world to us. The more reviews we have, the better chances people will discover our podcast and subsequently talk about their bowel movements.
Thanks for listening to an episode of Anxious Humor. This episode was produced by Michael Harkins. The voices of Anxious Humor are Michael and Rihanna Harkins. You can subscribe to our mailing list and find more information on the podcast at www.anxioushumor.com. If you'd like to talk with us about your darkest fears and anxieties, or even just chat with us about how you cope, give us a call at 864-719-2205.